Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. This morning I'm going to be planting up a nice pot for Canada Day full of red and white flowers, and we'll get it planted now, and that'll give it a few weeks to really fill in before the holiday arrives. So let me show you what we're working with today. So I'm going to be filling my pot with lots of nice red and white flowers. So this is a verbena. It's a royal white cap, superbena. You can see the nice bright white flowers on that. And this likes full sun, which is where my pot will be going. And it'll fill in, it'll kind of come up the pot, and it will also trail down the sides a little bit. So it's a nice full plant. And to complement it, I'll be using another Verbena, and this is Aztec Dark Red. You can see those nice bright red blooms, so the red and the white together. I'll also be using these nice bright red Calibrachoa. This one is called Compact Dark Red. And this one I also have as a Cabaret Bright Red. So very similar, nice full flowers. So those will also be filling out around the sides and growing up the side of the pot and also tumbling down. I'll show you, the pot's kind of a different pot, so I'll show you that in a minute. I also have some red and white petunias, which I thought were just perfect for this pot. So we'll put those in. Some nice white Alyssum. They'll be a good filler, and they smell pretty. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a frothiness, I'll put this Euphorbia in there. This one is Stardust Flash. So again, these plants all like a nice sunny spot. They can take the heat and definitely get your red and white. Now, like I said, this pot is kind of a special pot. Now, I picked it up a few years ago at Lee Valley, I believe, and I've never seen them anywhere else, but if you find them somewhere, let me know. So these holes are all filled with these little gates, and they pop in and out. I don't know if you can see that with shadows there. So they pop in and out, so you can take them out to give you lots of space to put your plants in, and then they just pop right over top again to hold all the soil and dirt in, so it gives you a nice space. An alternative to a pot like this is to just use a cocoa fiber pot and just punch holes, use a screwdriver or that, something like that, to make holes around the sides, and then you can just slide your plants through. This just gives you a bigger space to use. Now, I showed you in another video how I like to use the soil moist crystals, and I found this year soil moist mats. Now, I'd never seen these before, so I'm trying them out in my baskets this year instead of the crystals. So let me open this up. I think it would be similar to what would be in a disposable diaper. It's just looks like a thick kind of piece of cloth, I guess, but it's full of the crystals. So you put it in water, and the crystals soak up the water and expand, and then you lay it in the bottom of your pot, and that'll help regulate the water and keep it from all running through the bottom. So I'm going to use that in this pot, and we'll see how it works this year. I've never used them before, but I'm going to give them a try and see how they do. So while that's soaking, let's get the pot set up and the soil ready, and we'll get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of soil in the bottom of this pot. Now, these pots are a bit messy to work with. You'll see the soil's falling out. And I don't know if you can see, but I have it sitting up on a stool, because I find if you're trying to work this pot, the openings are so far to the bottom that if you're trying to work on it down, sitting on a flat surface, it's hard to get the plants in sometimes without wrecking them, depending on how big of a plant you're using. So we'll grab this sheet of soil moist here. I can pick it up. Oh, it's hard to get out of the... Tried to pick it up, it all just kind of pulled apart, so I'm just going to kind of dump it in there. I don't know if you can see those crystals are all over. So I had done another pot and I had just set it in the bottom of the pot and poured the water on until it was full, so that looks like that might be a better idea than trying to moisten it in a separate container. So there, we got that on top. And then it said to put some separation between this pad and the plants with some soil, so I just put a little bit more soil on top like that. So what I plan to do is take the verbenas I'm just going to slide the verbenas around the bottom. I'm going to alternate the red and the white, and you just take this little thing once you got the plant in, and it just snaps into place, and your plant can sit nice and tight against there. So that was a red one. Take this poor white one. Some of these were out in that hailstorm we had a few weeks ago, so they're looking a little worse for wear, but they're recovering, and I'm sure they'll come back just fine. It's a little windy out here today, so I hope that you're able to hear me all right. It seems like we're getting our May winds in June for some reason this year. So, it's another red verbena. Our last white one. Pop that up there. Now, I like the verbena. They can handle if they get a little bit dry, so they're good in a hanging basket. And I like them in these baskets because they will fill in as they grow. They'll kind of come up the sides a little bit as well as trail down, and they'll kind of grow together, fill in the gaps. So they're a nice plant. So with this pot, and the same as if you were just punching holes in a cocoa line pot, you would just fill a little bit of soil, put your plants in, and then add soil on top, and put more holes and keep going. Okay, so now do the Calibrachoa. So I had all the same, but with that hailstorm we had here, I had to replace some, and I couldn't find all the same ones again, so we just went for red. They're not even all the same brand, but they'll work. So that one in there. These Alyssums out. Okay, so I'm just gonna, these are small, they're easy to just set in there, so I'm just gonna get them in. So I'm just gonna alternate the Alyssum, which is nice and white, with the red Calibrachoas. Those snapped in. So I really like these pots. I have 3 of them. And I've had them for, I don't know, close to 10 years, I bet. And I've only had one of these little gates has one little notch that's broken on it. And you think with all the snapping in and out and the sun blasting on them and that they would not last long. And I bleach my pots out at the end of the season, so they get bleached, but they seem to hold up to all of it quite well and be fine. I'd like to find more. Like I said, they can be a bit messy to get filled, but popped that one right through. And because they have so many holes in them, they can be a bit expensive depending on what plants you choose to use to plant them with. This one just has a lot of roots at the bottom there, so I'm just going to give them a little rub there. They can be quite expensive if you're using, a little bit more high-end designer plants in them, but I've also found if you're using real big filler plants like this, you can skip a hole sometimes too. It'll just take longer for it to fill in and look really nice. And I just water them from the top, once a day or every couple days, depending on what they need and the heat. But about once a week to 2 weeks, again, depending on how hot it's gotten, I will actually fill a big bucket with water and I will set them in for like an hour until they're like just saturated, to give them a good soak. And I actually do that with a lot of my pots, hanging baskets, anything smaller. I will set them down in the heat of the summer and just let them soak in the water. So that's the Euphorbia, and that'll look really nice coming out around the edges of these other plants. These around like this. And then I have one, this is a double ruby Calibrachoa. I hope you can see that tag. So it has double flowers on it. Again, this one got hit by the hail, but it is coming back, and I think it would look quite fabulous spilling over the sides. So I'm going to stick it in here. I think we'll stick, there's 2 Alyssum left, so let's pop them in the top here too. Why not? And we'll just top it off with a little bit more soil, make sure all the root balls are covered. I want to make sure to try and leave myself about ½ inch or so at the top of the pot, so that when I'm watering, there's room to set the water, let the water sit on top while it soaks through, give it a nice slow water that way. I find that's the best, especially with your hanging baskets, because they need time to have the water soak in. So if you can leave room to let it kind of sit on top and slowly soak in a little bit. So I'll give this a good drink and let these roots settle in, and I think we'll have a beautiful display come Canada Day. So I just wanted to show you. This pot unfortunately got hit by the hail, so the top's definitely not looking too great, but this is actually the same combination I had done there a few weeks ago I just wanted to show you how the plants start to grow upwards and fill in. So this one's a week or two old. And now if the top plants hadn't got hit by the hail, they would be coming down and covering this up as well. So by the end of the season, you really can't see the sides or the bottom. You just can't see the top, any of the pot. It's just a big ball of flowers. But this one will take a little bit of time to recover from that hail, unfortunately, and I'll probably have to replace a few plants. But here's another example. This pot didn't get hit as badly, and you can see how it's starting to fill in along the sides. Again, the shadows, sorry. But you can see how they start to come up and grow up the sides there and fill it in. Again, the top got hit harder than the bottom, so I need to replace some plants in there. But so there's the pot. It's been watered. You might see it dripping back there, I don't know, but I hung it up. And it's looking a little sad right now, but that's why I do it up a little bit early, because it'll take time for the plants to settle in and grow up the sides. But it'll look beautiful when it's done. So just a reminder, so I put slow release fertilizer in my hanging baskets, actually all my pots. I put it right in the soil, and then I will water them with a liquid fertilizer about once a week. And like I said, the hanging baskets, I give a real good soak in a bucket of water about once a week when it gets really hot out. And you need to make sure that when you're watering, especially a hanging basket, because the water wants to go out all the sides, and that is to make sure that you give it a nice slow watering. So fill it up, let it soak in, and come back and fill it up, and maybe even again until it gets all the way, especially these ones like a cocoa fiber or one like this with the holes down the sides. You want to make sure that the water is getting all the way down to those bottom roots and not just going out the top level or the next level. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.